Welcome back aboard U80. It's shortly after noon on April 2nd, 1941. U80 is heading 250 degrees at the speed of 8 knots. We're about 530 kilometers or 330 nautical miles off the coast of Portugal, and about 811 kilometers or 506 nautical miles from our area of operation west of the Azores. This is just a short noon update. There are no other report-worthy events, so if nothing happens, I'll see you the next day, April 3 at around noon. Welcome back. It's April 3rd. It's 12:01 ship time. We have about 10 meters per second of wind, and as you can hear, we're just getting a radio message. We'll check that out in a minute. The wind is a speed of 10 meters per second from 68 degrees, and I think that's true bearing actually. We are still heading 250 degrees at a speed of 8 knots. We haven't seen anything and have not been seen, so unfortunately no targets so far. Let's see what this message says. It's a bit sad actually. It says that all these boats, U-47, 70, 99, 100 and 551, have not returned to base in March 1941 despite having been expected. They ask us to report if we find any of these boats on the high sea. Our position is still, well, we're now closer to the area of operations than to the base where we left from, and we might actually be running into the first convoy lane. It's kind of hard to tell. This is probably the eastern half of CF, so I suspect we might have one alley at around here, probably in this column. And the other alley should be around here. So hopefully we'll soon find some targets, and I'll be back with you either the next day, April 4 at around noon, or whenever something interesting happens. Welcome back aboard U80. It's April 4, shortly past noon. The wind has died down a bit to about 9 meters per second, and it has turned. It's now coming from southwest, and as you can hear in the background, we have a thunderstorm going on, so visibility is not perfect, but that might help us as we are approaching the convoy lane, actually the eastern one. We're about 12 hours away from reaching our area of operation, still heading 250 degrees at 8 knots, and I will catch up with you as soon as anything of interest happens. Welcome aboard U80. It's April 4, 5 minutes to midnight, and we just got a message about a large convoy in CF38, which would put him on the eastern convoy lane, the one emerging from the Mediterranean, and it's heading north-northeast. Roughly this way. So actually U-80 was in transit to the western convoy lane, closer to the Azores, but obviously we're going to turn around and try to intercept this large convoy. I'm also going to increase speed, and I'm going to do some map work to determine the search area of this convoy. If you want to follow me to the bridge, the weather is not quite agreeable, but I guess it's typical for the mid-Atlantic, and it's not too bad actually, so we should be able to carry out our attacks without problems. Thunderstorms are still happening, and other than that not much of interest has happened, so I will meet back with you once I have more information on our strategy, and I'll see you soon. Welcome back at the charting table of U-80. It's about an hour later, and I have worked out, an hour and a half in fact, and I have worked out my approach and search strategy. So we're at full steam ahead, averaging about 13, sometimes 14 knots, and we are trying to get into this corner of the moving grid square. By the time we get there, in about 7 hours, this corner will have moved at a speed of 6 knots with a heading of about 22.5 degrees, which will put him exactly here. Once we get there, the grid square will continue moving this way, and we want to scan back across it, and with every leg of the scanning pattern I want to fall back 10 kilometers, which you see represented here with this parallel line. The first line, the northern line, represents the northwestern corner moving, and once we are over here, the western edge of the grid square is represented by this north-south line of this 90-degree angle. 10 kilometers to the south, this point on the western edge is represented by this line. It'll keep moving this way, and we're going to slow down to 7 knots, which gives us about 10 hours to move across. The second leg here is see, did we actually measure it? Not sure. It's about 132 kilometers. So at 7 knots, we have about 10 hours to move across. And this point here in 10 hours, at 6 knots, it'll move 111 kilometers, which you see represented here by this circle. So we'll get exactly to here. The corner of the moving grid square, the northwestern corner, will be here at this point in time, and then we'll calculate the next position that we have to get to, which will be represented by this line, 20 kilometers further back from this corner here, actually. So I'm going to go 20 kilometers back. This is why the distance here is bigger than on this side, and then it'll move out further and further. Yeah, in my head it works, so we'll see if it works in reality. But I think with about 10-hour legs, I should be able to scan the grid square in about in a total of 60 hours, I believe, because we're going to need about 6 crossings as the whole distance here. This distance is about 120 kilometers. So when we move back 20 kilometers at each complete crossing, which means back and forth, or forth and back rather, that would give us about 6 complete crossings, or 12 half crossings. Yeah, so 60 hours, that equates about 660 kilometers, which would put us about up here. It's still fine, we still have, we don't get in too close, but hopefully we're not going to use the full 60 hours, meaning we don't actually have to scan through the whole grid square into this corner. Hopefully the convoys, I mean, there is a 50% chance that it's actually in the closer half. And these circles here, the smaller circles, have a diameter of 30 kilometers. That means we're going to dive here and here, and then here at the center, and then here, or maybe we'll see. I mean, I also want to dive at the edges of the search pattern, or the moving grid square. Yeah, that's pretty much it, and all these other circles are basically just for measuring distances, and we can actually get rid of them. I'm gonna keep this one. Don't remember what I used this one for. Oh yeah, it determined the position here. It looks complicated, but it does make sense in my head, and I'm very curious to find out whether it will actually work. But I think it should work. Otherwise, not much has happened. We're just plowing through the Atlantic here. I haven't heard any thunders recently, I don't hope that, I hope that the weather doesn't improve too much. Reduced visibility, I think, helps us more than it causes problems, so I would like the weather to stay the way it is. Anyway, I'll be back once I have an update, probably once we reach the starting point of the search pattern, and I'll see you soon. It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon on April 5, 1941, and shortly before the second dive on the first leg of the search pattern, the convoy has showed up behind us. It was just passing by as I was getting on the conning tower to take a look myself just before second hydrophone check. Consider ourselves quite lucky in this sense, so we didn't have to run a lot with the search pattern. Convoy has shown up where expected, and I've ordered a course change. We're running parallel now. I've been dropping back a bit because we were actually about 10 kilometers to the port of the convoy's track and about 12 kilometers ahead. So now we have closed into about 8,000 meters, and now I've ordered a speed increase again to put some distance between myself and the escorts who were getting a bit closer. It's a bit hard to see in the haze, so let's go to the map that I have prepared. So the convoy, I think, is at least 3 rows wide and about 4 rows long, and I think here and here we have a tanker in the center, and troop transport I've also seen, and then several large freighters and also a couple of smaller vessels. Potentially the convoy is 4 rows wide. I'm not quite sure about that. There are 2 escorts in the front. One is a bit closer on our side, then there is 1 escort here, and actually there is another one back here, further back and further to the center of the convoy. So right now we should be about 10,000 meters from the convoy again. I'm not quite sure what to do. Should we pull ahead and drop into the convoy again? If not to shoot at ships, it would provide us with a lot of information on the exact structure of the convoy. And if we're able to pull it off, we could cause quite some damage from within, although I do quite painfully remember an episode or 2 ago when we tried that very same thing and we missed all of our shots from inside the convoy. I would love actually to target the tankers. But I'm not sure how easy or how hard that is to do from the side when they're on the inside, and I'm not quite sure where exactly. Because if the convoy is actually 4 rows wide and they are on the other side, then we have a problem. It's going to be quite hard to hit the tankers from this side. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull ahead and I'm going to try to get a 0 degree AOB bearing as well, just to make my course prediction more precise. Right now I'm going with 22.5 degrees because that's what the message said. on BDU, but it might not be exact. So I think we're gonna pull ahead, try to put ourselves in front of the convoy, and get a 0-degree AOB bearing so we know their exact heading. We're gonna keep taking bearings. We get a rough speed estimate, but I think 6 knots from the message are gonna be, they're usually quite accurate, so just want to confirm that. And then I will see. Maybe we'll drop into the convoy. Maybe we'll shear off again to the side and attack from there. But it would be nice to really know how many rows wide the convoy is and whether tankers are closer or on the eastern side or on the western side. So that's what I'm gonna try to find out, and I'll be back with you once I have an update. So it's 7:30 at night on April 5. We are in front of the easternmost column of 4 columns. The convoy is still heading on a heading of 22.5 degrees. We have slowed down to 4 knots. Over the rest of the afternoon we've carefully observed and selected targets, and we are going to drop into the convoy once it's completely dark, which I expect to be in about another hour, maybe a bit more. It's really hard to see the convoy. From time to time it completely disappears. Right now I don't think you will be able to see it, but I can only see the silhouette of the column that we're in front of. And if you want to follow me to the chart table, we are in front of this easternmost column here, and the plan is to basically slip into the convoy on a course parallel and very close to the track of this easternmost column. And once we're inside, we're going to make a very sharp turn like this. I might actually, because our target is the first ship. That's our primary target, the first ship in the second column, and I believe the second ship in the third column. But I'm not sure we'll be able to get that. As an alternative, we'll just attack these 2 ships with the front tubes. 1 salvo per ship, 1 salvo of 2 torps per ship, and we'll see where we go from there. I think we should drop into the convoy very close, but still on the outside of the convoy, and then more or less once we're on like a beam from the first ship. No, that's actually going to be too late until we have turned. No, we should probably drop in. Let's see, they are traveling at 6 knots per. At 6 knots. When we're 3 kilometers ahead, we have 15 minutes. We don't need that much to turn. We need probably between 5 and 10 minutes to turn at speeds of probably around 4 to 5 knots. Yeah, we'll try to maintain a speed of above 4 knots for the turn at least. So we should drop under. We should turn. I mean, we have to drop under a lot further. We have to drop under. I mean, right now we are about 15 kilometers ahead. They are traveling 2 knots faster, and we are. So we're down. We are at 4 knots. So 2 knots faster. In about 4 hours, less than 4 hours, we should be close to the convoy. So we have to dive in about 2 hours, the latest. And then we have to carefully observe our distance to the lead ships, and we should turn at about that would be good. The distance of about 2 kilometers. And then we can slow down to 1 knot or so and let them pass. Let the second column pass and then shoot each ship as it passes. I'm not exactly sure about their distance inside. Like the distance on the track. That would be useful information at this point, but I don't have it. So maybe we have to, maybe we cannot actually yeah, maybe we should shoot at when the first target is about 10 or 15 degrees out to our starboard side. And then shoot again once, and then by this time the second ship will be probably at around 20 to 15 degrees to our port side, depending on a lot of things. So it's really hard to tell. But I think this is what we're going to try to do. As you can see, it's getting darker and darker, and we have to be careful not to be struck by lightning. And I'll catch up with you once I have an update. So at 20 past 9 we have approached the convoy, and actually we are about 5,000 meters from the destroyer screen, and the silhouettes of our targets are clearly visible. So we are going to drop under. I feel we are a bit too far outside, so we are going also to correct the course a bit, but I think it's time to submerge. So we can speed up for this. This brings us under faster.
Jawohl, Herr Kaloin. Volle Fahrt voraus.
And actually we can also do our course change before we submerge.
Jawohl, Herr Kaloin. Neuer Kurs 7-8.
Let's
Jawohl, Herr Kaloin. Oder 0.
actually that's the wrong direction.
Jawohl, Herr Kaloin. Neuer Kurs 316.
We want further in, but not much, maybe 150 meters. So we're gonna go get a position on this line here. and then we're gonna go back to our old heading. Don't want to run into the destroyer, obviously. Okay, let's go back on course.
Jawohl, Herr Kaloi. Neuer Kurs 2,6. Jawohl, Herr Kaloi. Neuer Kurs 2,5.
And once we are on course, let's see. Once we are on course, we're gonna go under, and then we'll slow down also. Okay. Let's go to periscope depth.
Jawohl, Herr Kaloi. Seerohrtiefe.
Auf Tauchstationen!
Okay.
Jawohl, Herr Kaloi. 1/3 Fahrt voraus.
Now, with the help of the hydrophone and the periscope, we'll try to stay just outside of the easternmost column. And once we're about 2.5 kilometers ahead of the easternmost column, we'll turn west sharply to, let's see, 90 minus 22.5, 70, 68, 66, 67.5 degrees. It's going to be the new heading, and hopefully that will allow us to make a turn just in front of the first of the lead ship of the outermost column. We'll try to identify our target as soon as possible, so we can set up our torpedo solution. Let's see. I think we're gonna need the seems to be the wrong one. We're gonna need the observation periscope because it allows for a better night sight. It has a larger opening. Okay, so this is the outermost column. It's actually not straight behind us, but I think we're looking at it from the outside. So we are going to turn west just a tiny bit with our heading 26. let's head 20 rather.
Neuer Kurs 2-0.
Because this way, if we fall further back, we're actually gonna fall into the outermost column. I want to stay clearly outside. Yeah, so now the stern of our boat is pointing clearly outside. Okay, we're going to maintain this. We can lower the periscope as to prevent attracting any unwanted attention. So now I'm going to do a bit of precision work with the hydrophone and the periscope from time to time, and I will see you soon.